Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Investing with Confidence. As always, I am your host, Joshua David, and we are happy to have you with us today. The sponsor of Investing with Confidence, Online Trading Academy, on their 25th year, teaching people just like you how to trade and invest the stock market. We had some great volatility in the markets this week. A lot of people are a little bit worried about what's happening in the markets, but I have my special guest here. As always, he's not too special because he's here every week, but he is special because he's the mastermind, Al Connickson. How are you doing today, Al?
I'm doing really great. And a lot of other people are probably a little disappointed in what's happening, but this is just another one of those opportunities that we see that can be taken advantage of.
I'm really glad you brought that up. There's a lot of people a little bit disappointed with what's happening with their, especially we'll call it their retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs. And that's a lot of the topic I want to talk about here today. I know you have some stocks you want to talk about, but we have some major drops in the markets. We had a big drop on Wednesday evening, the whole Russia-Ukraine debacle, and there's a lot of volatility. When that dropped, it opened up, and it actually got pretty strong right away in the morning. President came on, talked at 2:30 in the afternoon. We know what happened there. But what's your insight on this crazy market, Al? Why are we seeing such huge volatility? Is it just Russia, or is it really almost just like we talk about a lot? It's just supply and demand.
Well, the day that Russia actually invaded Ukraine, the market did take a huge drop. The market just didn't like what it saw. But you have to remember that back around the first week in January, this market started a downtrend. So it didn't just happen, but this just made it worse. It just moved the market down closer to a point where maybe there's going to be some really good values out there. We've talked a long time about how this market has been overvalued and how it wouldn't take much to cause a rollover and cause a kind of a retracement of where some of these stocks came from. And that's what's happening. But every show, Josh, that we have done, we talk about protection, how to make sure your portfolio is protected, how to be properly diversified. So, I guess a good time to ask yourself, how did your portfolio do during this time period?
Yep.
And understand that events like the Russian invasion, those are things we can't control, and some of those things happen that we can't predict, but they're always going to be there. So it's always necessary to make sure your portfolio is positioned in a way where you don't always get hurt by when something like this happens.
You made a great comment there, is how did your portfolio do? And I want to talk a little bit more about this stuff with portfolios later, but I want to bring this up since you brought it up. How did your portfolio do? Which, if you talk to a broker or an advisor, they're going to say, don't freak out, don't panic. Well, you know what? You mentioned a great thing. Time to protect what you do have. And as I mentioned earlier, the stock market, the moves happen based off of supply and demand, and the news just speeds up what was going to happen anyway.
Correct.
I mean, a good fact is I think it was 2 weeks ago, we talked about a supply zone the S&P 500 was getting in, and it's down roughly about 8% off of that supply zone we talked about. So talk about that a little bit. Why is it so important to understand how to read a price chart and then make smart investing decisions from that?
Yeah, well, understand that a price chart is like a storybook of a particular company or the markets. Everything you need to know really is in that price chart. When Josh was talking about a supply zone for the S&P 500, what a supply zone is, and this is part of the strategy we teach our students, is how to identify a zone where there are sellers. A supply zone is where there's more supply of something there than there is buyers, more sellers than buyers.
Yep.
And almost always that reflects where institutions are going to be selling in a supply zone. That's what our strategy does. It has a number of steps that you follow, a number of rules that you follow in looking at identifying a what we would call a proper zone, whether it's a supply zone where there are sell orders or a demand zone where there are buy orders. And it's all really based on institutional activity because those guys have enough money, enough clout to move the price of something.
Great point, yeah.
The important thing in trading and investing is identifying the right price to get into something, and then the right price to get out. The right price to get out if you're wrong, and the right price to get out if you're right with the profit.
Yeah, so many investors and traders, I'll say the retail public just buys and hopes it goes up. There's techniques and concepts as markets go down. I was actually talking to a good friend at the gym yesterday, and they're talking about, oh, man, market's just looking terrible. I said, well, it depends on what side you're on.
Right.
And they said, well, what does that mean? Nobody knows that there's strategies for down markets. Even if you have a retirement account, there's strategies with an IRA that you can utilize in down markets.
Yeah. Well, you're wrong in that statement. You said nobody knows how to make money in a down market.
Correct.
And
the public doesn't.
The public doesn't know.
The civilian world.
Yeah. And the sad thing is that for a lot of you that have an advisor, the company that you have your money with probably made a lot of money during these big down days. Back, I think it was in 2018, we had a 1,000-point drop in the Dow one day, and Goldman Sachs made over $200 million that day. So for these big firms, they have traders that are out there. They're not putting together long-term portfolios like they're telling you to do. And they're not sitting back just watching their portfolios go down on days like when Putin moved into Ukraine.
Yep.
They're taking advantage of those things. And the market goes up, it goes down, it goes sideways. There's only one direction you cannot trade, and that's backwards. So, don't sit around now and think, oh, I wish I had done this or I wish I had done that. You can't go back and change that, but you certainly can change what you do going forward. So how are you positioned now? This is a great time to come into one of these classes Josh is going to be talking about, because we talk about how to take advantage of the different market conditions, the different movements in the market, the right kinds of assets to trade for what your goals are.
Yeah, you made a great point there. Woulda, coulda, shoulda is not a strategy. And the strategy is utilizing supply and demand, which is how anything works in the world. How you buy and sell anything in your everyday life should be exactly how you do it in the financial markets. And Al mentioned these investing classes that we have right here on Bloomington. I mean, think about this right now. Volatility in the markets. If you have money in the markets and it's just long, which means up strategies, you might be at risk. Now is the time to learn the skills to protect what you have, but also strategies for down markets. I want to give away tickets to this investing class that we do right here in Bloomington, and these are classes where we've taught thousands, just like you, are many strategies which are designed to teach you to make better investing decisions. So callers 1 through 10, when you call in right now, you're going to receive 2 tickets plus a quick start kit that actually includes some stock ideas and different stock picks. Call 888-682-6466. That's 888-682-6466. If you're a texter, you can also text the word INVEST to the number 484848. When you do that, you're going to also receive those free stock picks in that financial quick start kit. Now, coming up next, I do want to continue this discussion about 401ks, IRAs, protecting your portfolio. As markets are going down, this is a great thing. Mm-hmm. They could continue to go back, but now it's time to learn skills for up and down markets. So coming up next, things you can do during these down, beautiful markets. We'll be right back.